Good morning, class. Make sure you have picked up a new green paper. We are going to do a warm-up this morning. Alright, your learning target is I will determine the slope of a line from a graph. So today we're going to be talking about slope and looking at a coordinate plane at a linear graph and finding the slope of the graph. So what I want you to do for your warm-up on your green paper, given the graph to the right, list two ordered pairs or points that are on the line. Remember, an ordered pair is x comma y. So I want your x value first and then your y value. Each of these lines on the graph is counting by 1. And then remember, if you go left, it's negative. So you don't have to draw the graph. I just want you to tell me what are some points that are on this line. Once you have found 2 points and you have listed them on your green paper, go ahead and get up and get one of the blue papers that has a little slope guy on the front, has some graphs on the back. Pick up one of those. You'll need one of those for class today. Pause the video if you need more time. Alright, so let's go over your warm-up. For your warm-up, as long as you had this point right here, which is, we go over -2, and we go up 1, 2, 3, so -2, 3. You could have this point right here, which we go over 0 and up +2. Or you could have this point right here, which you go over +2 and up 1. Looks like you could have this point right here. Sorry. Which we could go over 4 and up 0. Alright, so those are the points that you could have listed. Make sure you have at least 2 of those listed. In order to find a point that's on a line, we need to find the point that crosses in the corner of the box. So any of these corners of the boxes that we see all over this graph, those are actual points on the line. We could have picked something like this because we don't know those exact points. Those would be decimals or fractions. We don't want to guess what the point might be. We want to know what the exact point would be. It's not going to erase. So we want to pick points like this, like these 4 that we have here, because we know what the exact point will be. We don't want to have to guess. This point right here, we may say, oh, that looks to be about halfway through this line, okay? But again, we don't want to make that guess. So make sure you're picking points that you actually know what the exact value is. We don't want any decimals. We don't want any fractions. We want all whole numbers, and we want to know exactly what those points can be. Alright, so that was your warm-up. You can put your green paper aside for now, and we're going to take some notes today. Alright, so again, we are talking about slope. Sorry, my nose is stuffed up today. We're talking about slope. Here is your definition of slope that I need you to write down. It's a number that describes both the direction and the steepness of a line. And instead of number here, I'm actually going to write ratio. So instead of number, I want you to say ratio. It's actually a ratio that describes both the direction and the steepness of a line, because typically we write slope as a fraction. Even if it is a whole number, we can always put it over 1. So change that number to ratio. Alright, when we talk about direction, we're just talking about which way the line goes, which we're getting ready to talk about the different directions of slope. And when we talk about steepness, we talk about how the line is angled. So if you think about a mountain, some mountains are super steep. They go like almost straight up in the air, whereas some mountains are not as steep. You could walk up it very easily. So this ratio or number that is called slope will tell us how steep is that line and then which way does it go. So make sure you have all of those definitions down on your paper. If you need more time, raise your hand so your teacher can pause. All right, there are several different ways to say slope. Obviously, slope is one of them, and that's the most commonly used term for slope. But other things you might see is rise over run. That's actually what slope is, and that's what we're going to be using a lot today when we are looking at the slope from a graph. All right, another way to say slope is rate of change. So it's the rate at which something is changing. Slope is always on a coordinate plane, and when we look at a coordinate plane, we have an x and a y axis. And so if you're looking at a word problem or a real life scenario, the rate of change is the terminology that's typically used because some variables on the x value and some variables on the y axis, and we're talking about how it's changing over time. The letter M, all right, a lot of teachers say M because mountains have slope. All right, but the letter M, you'll see the letter M, and that does mean slope. I know it's kind of weird because M is nowhere in the name slope, but that's what it is, so make sure you memorize that. And then we also have this change in Y divided by the change in X. So that little delta or triangle figure is change. This will come into play a lot tomorrow, so make sure you understand change in Y divided by the change in X. It's just another way of saying rise over run, really, because remember our y-axis, whoops, can't really see that. Our y-axis goes up and down, which is our rise. So it's our change in Y, and then our x-axis goes left to right, which is our run. We run left to right, so that's our change in X. All right, so make sure you have all those down on your paper. If you need more time, pause the video. All right, so here's Mr. Slope. He helps us see the different directions or types of slope that we have. All right, so a positive slope is going to be his left eyebrow. A positive slope looks like that. Positive slopes go uphill when you're looking from left to right. So when we're looking at slope, we always read it like a book. So if you have a positive slope and you're reading it like a book from left to right, you're going uphill. And then you can see that he has a positive eye. That's a positive sign to show you that that is positive. All right, and then negative slopes look like this. So again, his eye is a negative sign. All right, so the negative sign goes with the negative slope. And when you're reading negative slopes from left to right, they go downhill. So if you're going uphill, you have a positive slope. If you're going downhill, you have a negative slope. These are two things that you really need to remember when you're identifying slope, because if you have the right or the wrong sign, just like before when we were solving equations or anything else we do in math, the wrong sign can cause you to get a completely wrong answer. All right, if we have a line going straight up and down, this is called undefined. So his nose kind of makes a U shape. All right, and that is undefined. We can't walk on undefined slopes. They go straight up and down. And we'll look at how those look in a minute. All right, and then zero slopes, which is why you see two little zeros on either side, or his little dimples for his mouth. Zero slopes, we can walk on these. These are flat surfaces. So if you have a line that's going straight across, that is a slope of 0. All right, if you need more time writing those down, raise your hand so the teacher can pause. All right, so these graphs right here, I want you to identify the type of slope for each. So is it a positive slope, a negative slope, a zero slope, or a slope that is undefined? So go ahead and pause the video and take a few minutes. Everybody needs to be naming what types of slope. Use Mr. Slope, all right? Look at his eyes, his nose, and his mouth, and see if you can identify what types of slopes these are. I don't want a number, I just want to know the type of slope. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Alright, so let's go through these. The first one would be undefined. Make sure you're correcting these if you got them wrong. The second one would be negative, going across. The third one would be positive. The fourth one would be 0. The fifth one would be negative. The next one would be undefined. The next one would be 0. And the last one would be positive. So if you got one of those wrong, make sure you correct it. If you need more time, pause the video. Alright, so now let's actually find slope. So remember we said earlier that slope is rise over run. So we want to start at the leftmost point. So we'll start at this point over here. And we're going to count how many we rise, how many we run, and we're going to put it as a fraction, just like it is in rise over run. So if we count to get to this point over here, because we're going from left to right, we're going to count up 1, 2. So our top number, our rise, is going to be 2. Then we're going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 over 5. We're never making any negative moves. We're going up and to the right. Those are all positive. And we know that Mr. Slope's left eye was a positive slope, which is the same direction that this line is going in. So our slope is positive. 2 over 5 cannot be reduced. So that is our answer. Alright, so let's look at this one. Again, we're going from left to right. Alright, so we're going to go our rise first. Well, we can't rise on this one because we have to get down to this point. So we're actually going to go down 1. So there's our negative. And then we're going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our slope here, again, Mr. Slope's right eye was a negative, which is the direction that this line's going. So we have a negative slope. And 1 over 5 cannot be reduced. So we have a slope of negative 1 over 5. Alright, I want you to do the last one. If you need to pause the video, you can. And I will check your answer tomorrow. Alright, now we're going to find slope on these types of graphs, which are the same types of graphs, they just don't have points. So I would say look for a point. Oops. Alright, there's a point on the y-axis. Typically there is a point on the y-axis, that's why I started there. And then here's another point way down here at the bottom. Alright, so we're going from left to right. So we're going to start down here at the bottom and we're going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going over 1, 2, 3. I never went in a negative direction, and Mr. Slope's left eye goes this way, which is positive. And 5 over thirds cannot be reduced, so I have 5 over 3. Alright, so again on the second one, I'm going to pick a point. Here's a point right here. And here's a point right here. And it would not be wrong to pick this point down here. Alright, but I'm going to pick the 2 points that are close together. So I'm going to start here. And I'm going to work my way up. So I have 1, 2, 3. Over, and I'm going to run 1. Now 3 divided by 1 can be reduced, and that is just a positive 3. Alright, so on their next one, here's one of the points, and here's the other point. So I want you to go ahead and count your slope. Remember, this is Mr. Slope's right eye, so you should have a negative slope in the end. Go ahead and do that. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause. Alright, these 3 are the same as the last 3, so go ahead and do those 3 as well, and I'll check your answers tomorrow. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, and on these last 3, we're just going to plot these 2 points, and then we're going to find slope, just like we did before. So on the first point, it's a positive 4, and we're going up 3, so our point is right here. And the second slope is a negative 2, negative 1, so our point is right here. Man, it erased my other one. Oh, it does not like these points. Okay, So then we're going to connect those two